20 94.5 WTAW.
We visit with the mayors on Wednesdays, and John Nichols kicks it off for 2025. Let's have a great 2025. What do you say?
Thank you, Scott. I'm looking forward to it. It's been a month since we last visited. I think you were traveling a little bit, and then we had the holidays. We're looking at winter this week, I think.
Yes, we are. A little bit of it.
This is 1 week of winter.
Yeah, a little bit of it goes a long way. You're going to have a busy city council meeting tomorrow night, and
That's
before
true.
we get to the one that a lot of people have talked about, really something that could be very impactful, a real estate deal that y'all are looking at adjacent to Costco. Let's talk about that.
That's right. There's a 28-acre tract there that the city has owned for a long, long time between Midtown Drive and Highway 6. Right next, just south of Christ Church, next to Costco. We have put that back on the market. We had 3 offers on it, and we are negotiating with a company called Corinth Developers, and they have we put it up on the market this time as all or part, which allowed us then to do a deal on less than the full 28 acres. So at $8 a square foot, we're selling the front 13 acres. That'll be the real estate contract. It'll be voted on tonight. That's the proposal. And they will have an option for a certain period of time, maybe a couple of years, to buy the back 15 acres. And that'll depend on how well they see their plans developing on the front side. It'll be several pad sites on the front, which they already have strong connections to marketing. There'll be a couple of retail buildings and a plaza in the middle of it. And that plaza will be discussed and developed during that due diligence period. And then when we get to the final development agreement 3 or 4 months from now, they've done their due diligence, then we'll see exactly how that maybe 2-acre plaza, which is really green space, and public space in the middle of it with the retail surrounded it. So we'll see how that goes, but I think the council's very excited about the opportunity to move another piece of that property into the private sector and have a lot of interesting retail and experiential businesses move in there.
Well, the layout that I saw that intrigues me in a very pleasant way is not everything is going to be concrete, not everything is going to be commercial oriented. This is something that seems to have an aesthetic value to it.
Yeah, and of course, we'd love to protect all the trees along the frontage. That's probably not going to happen because that's just the way the development occurs. But we will have the green space in the middle, and we'll work out the details of who's going to own that and how it's going to be maintained. Clearly, they want to have it there because it adds aesthetics and attracts people. A gathering point in the middle of this piece of property, in the middle of 13 acres. The backside of that, the other 15 acres, could develop accordingly, and they have the first option on that down the road a couple of years.
Sure. The big story, of course, is the $200 million plus development plan that you have somebody who's come forth, a situation that at least the city wants to have council take a look at. Give us a little bit of background there.
Yeah, this goes back a number of years. There's always been discussion about highest and best use of land in Northgate, and the city owns both the parking garage and the parking lot. And the parking lot is what's in question here, about 1.57 acres. We've had inquiries, we've had offers of $10, $12 million. Just, you sell it to us, we'll do something with it. We weren't comfortable with that, so we decided to enter into some discussions, ultimately leading us to a public RFP process. So we put that out for bids, got 3 really good responses to that, ranging from about $3.6 million to $13 million cash for the land, and the opportunity to enter into a development agreement that would help shape what they are going to do there. Keep in mind, in that RFP, we outlined 5 or 6 items that they had to include, and that is a public safety police substation. We have to replace those 100 parking lots that are on the ground. We got to replace those, access publicly to the city, just like we have now. A new restroom facilities, new waste management, curbside pickup for shared rides, and a plaza that would be developed kind of off the end and around, extending the promenade area along the old Patricia Street activity. So those all have to be in there no matter who we do a deal with. and those were all acceptable and discussed by all three of the bidders. So we're entering into a discussion. We're proposing. I have no idea how the vote will go, but we're proposing to do a real estate contract with the Capstone Development Group. They will build on that student housing at the top, ground floor, a lot of the amenities that we want, plus retail. How it's designed and what it'll look like will come out of the development agreement discussion. Preceding that, or I should say parallel with the due diligence period, we will be undertaking a planning activity. The way the agenda reads, the first item is approving the idea of doing a small area plan for Northgate large, both the Bar District all the way down through the Culpeper property and Century Square, which is really the active area in there that's got a lot of redevelopment or development potential or existing on the ground. That will help inform us, and it will definitely be the public engagement process that we need, that where folks, they aren't limited to discussing this tomorrow night at council meeting. They'll have a planning period of 3 to 4 months where they can, and they will be invited and offered the opportunities in many ways to share their ideas with us about what Northgate should look like. As we look at it, clearly the private sector sees opportunities there. There's nothing the same in Northgate now that there was 20 or 30 years ago. We're just sort of saying, okay, we got property there. Let's see what the highest and best use is. At the same time, and I made this point repeatedly, we're not interested in changing the nature of the Bar District as such. They will be there. We're not touching those businesses. This should be an enhancement to allow them to operate more safely and more actively and with a lot more pedestrian gathering space around the urban plaza and the promenade where we already have the investments.
So is it correct to say that this is a neighborhood? Neighborhood integrity has been a phrase that's been a catchphrase of College Station city politics for a long time. Is this not a neighborhood as well? And if you come in and decide that you're going to put yet another high-rise in there, is that not changing the integrity of that neighborhood?
Well, if you consider the area around it, that is part of that neighborhood. The private sector is already responding to what the market says really needs to be here. And if you can think about neighborhood integrity writ large, having the students living closer to campus as opposed to more student-oriented housing in neighborhoods, this seems to me to be a holistic direction that makes a lot of sense. So the neighborhood is changing. The private developers, private landowners are recognizing that there is a demand there and they're responding to it. The landowners that own the land under all of those businesses are in a little different situation than are the business operators who are leasing those properties. So in some cases, they own the land and they're running their own business. But in a lot of those cases, the landowners are sitting back waiting. Now, should we tell those landowners that you can't sell your land for the highest and best use?
Should never be able to do that.
I think what we're doing is we're recognizing the changing nature, not only of Northgate, but of the university. Yeah. And 50 years ago, there was 40,000 students at A&M, maybe 30. Matter of fact, I got here a little over 50 years ago. There was only 12 or 15,000 back at the beginning of the 70s. So we can't just lock everything into what it looked like 50 years ago because the market is telling us that that's not really the best and highest use. Now, the business has got to be protected, absolutely. That's one of the reasons we said we are going to provide the parking spaces the same as we had now. The city got into this parking lot business by buying up a lot of individual properties. I think there's 8 or 10 different tracts inside that 1.57 acres. There were nothing but, I assume, at the time, housing, small duplexes, student housing, and owned by the old families over there. And finally, was never involved in the process, but they were accumulated to create a parking space to assist the businesses in Northgate to grow and develop.
You needed off-street,
and so
off-university
those parking spaces are sacrosanct, And we'll be providing those if we decide to move forward with the development.
So if you were to add another high-rise, that would tell me that the market seems to indicate that these are full. Are all those high-rises over there full?
I don't know the details of that, but we got 2 more planned that are on the ground. They do know that. Those guys do not invest the money unless the demand is there.
Certainly.
So you've got 1 being built. You got 2 more in the planning stage, and a couple more that probably will be in the planning stage in the next 3 to 5 years. So over the next 5 years, you'll have 3 more, at least, beyond what's already being built. So I think the market is telling them that, yes, the demand is there. Texas A&M is not capped the enrollment entirely. They're just changing the nature of their enrollment growth. So, you have to honor, I'm an economist, I have to honor what the market signals are. There are lots of flexibility in that, and different people have different visions of what could be built on that property. That'll be what will work out during the planning stages.
Sure. Well, a lot to be said on Thursday night, and we're just starting that journey. Let's change our attention. U-Haul comes out with numbers every year to tell us what 2024 looked like. Texas ended up they've been either number 1 or number 2 as a state for, I think, 9-10 consecutive years. We're number 2 this year. But there were some numbers that you got as far as College Station was concerned.
Yeah, College Station was identified, as we have been previously, as a destination where the net inflow is identified by how many U-Haul vehicles and pods and trucks come in here and how many leave, and the net inflow is very positive. So we're identified, I think, number 6 in the country for small metropolitan areas as fast-growing. And interesting comments by the U-Haul executives in Houston about the growth of Texas A&M, which we all understand is a major driver. There'll be other economic activities in this community that will drive that even more, I think, in the years to come.
Yeah, because there's been an outflow. Obviously, students leave also.
Oh, absolutely. But this is net.
But this is a net
the whole
positive.
Idea is net.
Yeah.
And if you look at what the president has said about the plan for the next 5 years, rebuilding the infrastructure, hard infrastructure on the campus, and the soft infrastructure, including technical and faculty numbers. We sit back and we're just comfortable. We don't have to recruit those faculty members. They are good-paying jobs. They locate and come to College Station because of the environment we have here in the Brazos Valley for living opportunities, school districts, public parks, housing, a whole array of things. So as the university pauses, they'll grow that number of good-paying jobs that are really the lifeblood of the growth of the city, and all of our home builders and developers are happy to see that. This is just a reflection of some of that trend. We also were recognized just in the last week by a small business magazine called Network Journal. College Station is the number 2 place in Texas for families. Number 1, Plano.
Wow.
So from a lot of this is, sure, it's just advertising for the magazine and whatever, but it's always good to be mentioned frequently as a great place to live, as a fast-growing place within reason. There are folks that don't want it to grow. I understand that. And with growth comes a lot of these questions like we're discussing in Northgate. The council needs to be in a position to use all of our assets to kind of manage that growth and support it. I'm happy that we have that kind of problem.
Absolutely. Thanks for the time this morning.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Scott.
John Nichols, he's the mayor of College Station.
Help us celebrate the 100th anniversary